Good morning. Great, it works. I I am delighted to see everyone this morning, and I apologize for the room confusion. It's been a very interesting morning. We had several House members call in and say that they wanted to Zoom into the meeting, and so we had to move to a room that would accommodate Zoom because the previous room would not. And then, very interestingly, Mr. Bagwell with the Senate press office informed me that the Senate rules are different, that the Senate cannot Zoom. So we are sorry that the senators will not be able to Zoom this morning per their rules, but he is going to fill in for them and take any presentations or notes for them. So thank you all so much for coming. I'm delighted to be here and so excited to hear from Marta this morning. We have a very full agenda, so I do want to go ahead and get started. And our first item on the agenda is review of the 2024 MARTA fiscal report. Per the MARTA Act of 1969, every year they submit a report to me that's due on August 31st. And I'm very happy to say that they were very prompt and had that copy delivered to my office very timely. So without further ado, I'm going to let CEO, Mr. Collie Greenwood, walk us through just briefly some kind of a summary of that fiscal report. And I believe we have handouts. Is that right for everybody? Okay. And I so appreciate Representative Hilton showing up this morning. We will give him one, but we have other copies if anybody else would like a copy of this presentation. So, Mr. Greenwood. And let's see, hold on. There we go. Let's see.
Okay, 1 second.
Let's see.
There's so many buttons.
They've changed the system up here.
I see. Okay, yeah, the
Okay,
mic's
great.
working
Yes.
and we've got slides now. All right, good.
Great,
Well,
thank you.
good morning, everyone, and thank you very much. Very happy to be here. And as requested by the chair, it's my intention to address a number of issues here today. I want to talk about MARTA's continued fiscal stewardship. I want to talk about capital projects that have been designed to enhance the customer experience and drive ridership up. And I also want to share some accomplishments over the past year. Before I dive into it, I just want to take a second and explain why I am so passionate about the work we do. It is clear to everyone in this room and anyone that's ever been to Atlanta that Atlanta continues to grow. The population continues to surge. We recently surpassed DC and Philadelphia in population. We're now at 6.3 million people, and the ARC predicts that our population will grow to 8 million by 2050. So more of the same is not the solution. We need a wide swath of transit and transportation options for people so that it's not everyone on roads and it's not everyone in the lanes. So what MARTA's doing here is finding suggestions and improvements that even if you don't take transit, you're going to appreciate the fact that it eases congestion, it supports the environment, it supports development, and it supports the economy. I want to thank there's a number of MARTA folks here. We've got our board chair, Katie Powers, is with us. We've got Director Jurett is with us. Director Worthy is on his way. Our incoming chair, Jennifer Ide, is with us. We've also got Peter Andrews, Kevin Hurley, Jonathan Hunt, Stephen Parker, our interim chief of staff, and Jennifer LaRosa from Government Affairs that will speak to you afterwards. So if we can get started with the fiscal update, I want to take you through our ridership slide. This is a slide that we share with all of our jurisdictions. Every few months, we give them an update, and I'm happy to note that it's a steady increase back towards pre-COVID ridership. In many cases, 2 of our modes, you can see that we've already surpassed pre-COVID ridership. Bus and rail are still stubborn, but moving in the right direction. Very, very pleased with the fact that the progression continues to head north. It is difficult. We recognize that. We know that Georgia is one of the top states in the country to work remotely, and that's contributing to the fact that people aren't taking transit to and from work every day. But the things that we're about to talk about are the reasons why I'm very confident that this will continue to go in the right direction. Not just that our population is growing, but the things that MARTA is doing to build demand. Let's look at the operating performance. All of this growth will continue to be supported by a strong underpinning of fiscal responsibility. And you can see over the course of several years here that MARTA's managed to balance our expenses and our revenues, and in most cases, in fact, bringing in more revenue than expense. And when that happens, our CFO makes sure that he takes those monies and puts them into our operating reserves, our unified reserves, so that saving it for a rainy day, if you will. We see in FY24 that our expenses did increase. A lot of that has to do with capital cost allocation. We gear up to do the work with the people and the equipment. And then if our projects don't move quickly enough, then we're not able to do capital cost reallocation. In other words, we're not allowed at that point to take the costing from the operating funds and move it to the capital until the shovels get in the ground and the work actually starts happening. But we'll get into the fact that that is where we are now. We're actually starting to move that, so that'll self-correct. We also have a fair bit of overtime that we've been dealing with, but in terms of hiring, so it's really in maintenance and bus operations and MARTA police. So three very important areas where you want to keep the wheels moving. So you do spend a little bit of money up front, but we have, again, found solutions to our vacancy rates have vastly improved. The MARTA police is an investment, we believe, in making sure that the system is safe and appears to be safe and feels safe. And we'll talk more about what the chief is doing in those areas. This slide really is just to talk about the fact that if you look at the row that says operating carry forward, that's really the reserves that we're talking about. And you can see here that we're projecting a diminishing use of reserves as we get back into the zeros in the years further out. So when other transit agencies are talking about a fiscal cliff, and that is a very prevalent conversation across the nation right now, MARTA's one of the few agencies that isn't talking about that. Our CFO calls it a bunny slope as opposed to a fiscal cliff, but it speaks to the fiscal discipline that we're applying to make sure that we're not getting into any of those conversations where we're in the red. Going to this, did it actually advance? Yes. Okay, thank you. Over onto the capital side, it just looks the same. You can see that our budget remains fundable and balanced, very strong position, despite misguided claims to the contrary. And since last year, we've been using an HDR generated model to look with great detail and granularity at a project by project basis on all of the projects in the program. It allows us to update assumptions. It allows us to fine-tune grant revenues and assess contingencies with a level of confidence that we didn't have before. So I'd also like to report, and I alluded to this last time, a few minutes ago, that we had a record 80% spend of our capital program versus budget in FY24. So that means the shovels are getting into the ground, that the work is moving, and we are advancing. So you'll see us able to reallocate those previous funds that I was talking about over into the capital program. We actually have $500 million of construction underway and an additional 160 projects ongoing. And all of this contributes to this landscape that I'm so proud of. We have, MARTA's been deemed an outstanding fiduciary of public funds. This is the multiple credit upgrade slide, and it's because of strong financial position. So we've got the highest credit rating possible for S&P, the highest credit rating possible for Kroll, and an upgrade to AA+ from Fitch. I want to say that there are over 2,200 transit agencies in the country, and there are only 6 of them with multiple AAA ratings, and MARTA is one of those 6. So we're really proud of that. That speaks a lot to, how we handle money. A lot of credit to our CFO and his team for what they're doing. Move along to the federal grant update. 2 boxes to look at. In the blue, it's the money that we've been successful in winning in competitive grants from the BIL and IIJA grants that we've been awarded. And you can see the costs and the prices there. It includes $19 million to support electric bus deployment, $1.75 million to support a Metro Atlanta Regional Infrastructure Accelerator for capital expansion projects and TOD investment. We're really happy about that because it means not only will MARTA benefit from studying TOD and how to accelerate bringing in more funding, but it's good for all the regional transit operators as well. And of course, $5 million in congressional earmarks to support transit hubs in Clayton and DeKalb counties and the Safe Routes to Transit Capital Project, which we'll discuss further on. And then on the right, you'll see the projects under submission. So there's about $231 million worth of grants that we're going after right now for these various projects. And they include CIG for Rapid Campbellton Road and a CIG grant for Rapid South Lake. So that's, again, that's very, very important for us to get that going. And the TRIPS is $10.6 million. TRIPS is actually our ability to give customers, you know, when you're waiting for the train, you can tell, you look up and you see when the next train's coming real time. You're going to have that ability when you're waiting for a bus. And so that's what we're hoping to really do and really bring bus service into its light. Capital projects, just spend a little bit of time there. There's lots of work going on, both in the state of good repair and the expansion efforts, whether it's replacing our rail cars, bringing on new communication-based train control systems, or a new fare collection system, significant upgrades to our traction power substations and auxiliary power. I want to talk about fare control systems for a second. That comes with new fare gates. And what we found, and you know, a lot of the conversation around making sure that the system is safe, when we talk about crime on the system, our police chief has said the majority of the times that they entangle with someone that's done something wrong on the system, guess what? They didn't pay either. So it really gives us extra reason to make sure that our gates are fortified, robust. It's not just about collecting funds, it's about keeping the environment beyond those gates safe. So we're doing all of that. We also had a major, we broke ground last month on a major operations and maintenance facility in Clayton County. So again, lots of work all over our jurisdictional map. What we're about to cover can be kind of packaged in terms of, one is the first BRT project is now in construction on Summerhill. We're going to talk about projects with Transportation Trust Fund commitments. We're going to talk about projects that are now in the CIG program or the Capital Investment Grant Program, and then just spend a little bit of time talking about the overall status of our station rehabilitation program. So we talked a bit about some of these. So the Summerhill project is, in fact, the construction phase is not only on, it's nearly 50% complete. There are 4 stations already technically implanted, and the platforms are starting to take shape. So you'll see more of that. 2 weeks ago, we took delivery of our first 60-foot BRT specific bus. So, you know, it's real now. It's something tangible. You'll see these buses have everything from, you know, personal telephone plug-in chargers at each seat to automatic platform levelers when it comes up to the docking station, operative doors on both sides of the vehicle, ADA ramps at the rear. Each vehicle is installed with transit signal priority devices so that working in concert with GDOT's installed roadside units, all traffic signals will be geared such that when the bus arrives, it gets priority moving through the intersection. So as with any construction project, there are differing site conditions. One of the most significant conditions that we found on the Summerhill project is the discovery of water supply lines for households are buried just inches below the road surface. And so that we had to deal with, yes. Essentially, this means that we need to rebuild the water distribution system for a significant portion of the roadway along Hank Aaron. We also found conditions like an abandoned underground parking garage under the sidewalk, and so you can't build on top of that. These are not things that were
For real.
In the blueprints, but this is I think it's these are the onions we peel in pursuit of progress. What I keep telling the team. We also discovered historic trolley tracks, and historic is good if you're an archaeologist, but it's not good if you're a project manager. So we're working with all of these things. We're going to have to coordinate to make sure that the timing, that we can, figure out the timing and the way forward, but we will not rest. We will not stop. We will have this done. Over to, I'm looking at now 5 points. Okay, let's just go with that. Over to 5 points. We're really happy with what's going on at 5 points now. We have now received the mayor's approval to proceed. We got that in November. Martoc continues to remain responsive to the Office of Buildings and ATL DOT requests regarding these permits. So as soon as we get our permits, we will then be able to tell you when we can start and when we will finish. Our goal now is to have everything ready in time for 2028 for the Super Bowl. And that all depends on, how quickly we're able to start with that. But, this is a fantastic project. It's been one that, it's at the heart of the system. It's a project that's received funding assistance from the state, from the federal government, and locally. So we really like the fact that it's a confluence of efforts that's really going to build the flagship of transit in downtown. And not to mention, it represents an area where we're expecting $6 billion of private investment into the area. So, 5 Points is going to signal the start of something fantastic for downtown, and we couldn't be happier about that. Of course, revenue rail service will not be impacted by this construction. We'll still have continuous movement north, east, south, and west. And we will now have pedestrian access through the Forsyth Street entrance so that up until 10 p.m. every night, pedestrians will have access to the station through Forsyth. So they will have access to elevators and escalators. And at 10 p.m., we have to stop. Cranes have to swing over the work area. And so at some point, you've got to have no people walking through the area. The Bankhead Station platform expansion, another exciting project. This was actually the first of our projects to receive Transit Trust Fund support. So work is progressing here. We're on the 60% design stage of life with this project. We're at the completion of final design is planned for September 2025. And so we're looking for opportunities to even expedite this program. You see in the slide there, it says 2027 revenue service. We're looking at a way that maybe we can get the platform itself extended by 2026 and continue with some of the other work, some of the, the refurbishment work that happens that's ancillary to that, and that can take till 27. But if we get that platform extended in 26, that means that currently we have the length of the platform can only berth 2 cars. When we get this work done, we'll be able to berth 8 cars. So that means we'll be able to extend the ability, the carrying capacity of the entire east-west line because we've fixed the capacity of Bankhead Station. So that's why it's very, very important to us to get that going through. Station rehab accomplishments, so many, just a few being mentioned up here. Again, there's the airport station platform. Transit Trust Fund was very, very instrumental in that. You'll remember we did a 6-week closure to get all of this work done. So we've rendered now the transition from train to plane or plane to train is rather seamless. The floors are the same. The lighting is similar. We've got a beautiful art install down there. We've still got some work to do with the new elevator and the elevator refurbishment. And then we have one more top piece to do certainly before FIFA, which is we'll put a canopy over it so that it matches the canopy on the on the airport property. So very happy with the work being done there. You'll see a lot of work at 5 Points Station. The Eisman facade's been cleaned up. A lot of work happening downstairs at 5 Points. The cladding, the lighting, the flooring, all of that's underway. And now with the news of the station renovation being accepted back in November, we'll be able to match with the images I just showed about 5 Points. So that's beautiful. Indian Creek, the pedestrian bridge. You've got this past weekend, we put the pedestrian bridge in. We had a crane operating over the tracks to get that installed. Brookhaven Station, similarly, we had a skip-stop program in place so that we could get all the platform pavers replaced. So all around our service area, MARTA's making moves. This is very exciting, the bus network redesign. We've been talking about this with our customers for well over a year, but it is such a fundamental shift in the way we're about to provide service. This is the first time MARTA's done this in 40 years. So since the beginning, you make changes, incremental changes from time to time, board period to board period. You change a route, you add this, you add that. But this is the first top to bottom change of a transit network on our bus system that MARTA's ever involved in. So it's very important that we do a lot of outreach with the community, a lot of in-reach with our own staff, making sure you measure twice and cut once. And so that's why we're taking the time. But next year, the rubber will meet the road on this new system. And so there's a lot of improvements here. We're going to see a 250% increase in the number of households with high frequency system access. That is the number of people that live near a bus route that is 15 minutes or better in terms of headways. If you miss this bus, the next one's going to come in 15 minutes or less. That's so important because now you can kind of put your schedule away. You can just get out there and know that the bus is coming. 250% more access to that. And we believe that that'll be a game changer. That will boost ridership. People will start to say, well, now this is an option that I can actually consider.
Wow.
We will have a 21% increase in the number of residents that can get to jobs within a 60-minute trip. So we're kind of looking at the city as a 60-minute city. If it takes you 2 hours to get to work, we're not doing it right. So we're reducing that time by redistributing the bus routes. Frequent service every 15 minutes. The number of communities with zero-car households will see a 45% increase in access to near 30-minute service, and low-income residents will see a 39% increase. So a lot of, we're reducing the number of routes. That is true. We see now that there are some bus routes where you have a 40-foot bus or even a 60-foot bus coursing through a community and there's just 1 or 2 people on it. So we're wondering about the utility of that. We're making it more efficient. We're reducing the number of buses on the number of routes that we use, increasing the number of buses on the routes we keep, and introducing 12 on-demand zones. So it's almost like Uber. You pick up your phone. Hey, Marta, I need a ride. We'll pick you up at a nearby station, a nearby stop, and we'll take you to our transit system, whether it's a train or a bus. We'll get you connected. So we think that that's going to be a very welcome improvement in the way we do things. And in other news, I just want to talk very quickly, the 5-year bus amenity program, we did it, we finished, we came in on budget, came in on time. And to me, it's not just the fact that now 70% of people waiting to access a bus are served by amenity, a bench, an overhead shelter, information, garbage receptacles, concrete pad underfoot, protection from the elements overhead. It's not just that. It's the fact that Marta made a promise, and despite what the last 5 years have been like in terms of supply chain and opportunities and costs, we delivered. And that was important to us, to every one of our jurisdictions. We said we would, and we did, and we trust that bodes well for the promises we make for the future. When it comes to safe routes to transit, that was just a natural spin-off from the 1,000 Amenities program. As we were doing that, we said, look, this is great. You've got a nice pad and a bench and a shelter, but it was just treacherous trying to get to that location. So let's take a look at these routes, the pedestrian routes that are heading towards these stations. Let's look at the intersections. Let's get the lighting right. Let's get the crosswalks properly signaled, and let's put a sidewalk in there so that it's safe routes to transit. And we're really, really grateful for these congressionally directed spending earmarks that have made this possible. So we're really, really proud of that. And I don't know if this is the actual video or not. Let's see it. No, it's not video, but it's okay. Just picture, if you will. This is a moving video that shows you the inside of this train. At the end of the day, this becomes a pièce de résistance for what we have been working on over the last few years. This is the CQ400. This is the last time you'll hear me say that it's coming, because the next time we meet, it will be here. We're actually going to reveal this train on January 30th at the State of Marta. So you're all welcome to be there down at Lindbergh Station. And we are so proud of this. I don't know if I've spoken to this group before about the CQ400, and stop me if I have,
No.
because Jennifer's waiting to get up here, but open gangway, color-coded, spots for wheelchairs, spots for bicycles, spots for your luggage, for your suitcases. Open gangway is not just a nice, aesthetically pleasing, but it means when the MPD police officer gets on that train, he or she has view of the entire train. And you seated on the train, now you know that we're supporting you because there's a police officer on that train. As it stands, Chief Greer is working very hard to make sure there's a police officer on every train during the peak right now in the rush hour. But you won't know it if you're in a car that's separated. So from now on, when these trains start to arrive, you will have that. We'll also have noise sensors, so that if it's noisy in a particular area of the train, we've got sensors in the train, cues to the noise, livens up a video, and gives us access through our control center to say, pipe down, and we're sending resources to make sure that you behave in a manner that's, you're not a knucklehead on the train. So all kinds of things that we are building into this product that tells you that we're not just about finishing a project. We're really about listening to what we've been hearing, the concerns that Martoc and other groups have been telling us, and trying to build that in as a part of the solution. And, you know, we've been noticed. So the American Public Transportation Association, a North American group, has taken a look. There's about 15 judges on this panel. They've taken a look at everything MARTA's done and said, right, you get the award for the top transit agency in North America for 2024. And
Bravo.
thank you very much.
Bravo.
Really proud of that. And for me, it's not even about what we've done. For me, it's when you talk to MARTA employees, how they lift and they say, okay, so we're on the right track. Yeah, we're on the right track. So I'm really grateful to MARTA, the employees, for having gotten us here, and I'm holding you accountable for taking us so much further. And with that, I'm going to ask Jennifer LaRosa to take over.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, Kelly Greenwood. I just am so very proud of MARTA and this outstanding award and for all these initiatives and completion of so much great work. So thank you very much. I did want to mention one thing in going through the report before we move on to Jennifer, and that is in going through the report, we had a lot of legal settlements. We had kind of three different categories in the audit. There were legal settlements, there were medical payments, and there was lost workers' compensation wages. And I understand that you were catching up because the courts were finally open, that was part of the reason for this, that from COVID. But I just will mention that the total legal settlement expenses were $486,034. The total legal settlements outside of the expenses were $21,538,306. And then in addition to that, the workers' compensation, those totals were the workers' compensation lost wages were $5,556,000. And then let's see, the medical payments were $3,400,089. So the total of all this comes to $30,981,045, which is a whole lot of taxpayer money, both from the federal side and from the state side. So almost $31 million. That being said, I did go and spoke extensively with the chair, Katie Powers, as well as our wonderful legal counsel, Jenna Dodd. And it is interesting because I found that the standard under the MARTA Act, it says that basically the standard that the duty that you're held to as is the same as a private corporation.
Right.
And so given that we have not been successful in the last 2 years in the General Assembly in clarifying what is exactly premises liability, you know, it's a concern, and I'm certainly hopeful that we can address that gap in our liability for MARTA and for all businesses in Georgia. And I'm hopeful that this number is going to come down. Did you have any further comments on that? Or
Well, thank you, Chair. I think it starts with thank you, because what you've just recognized sort of the landscape that we're operating in. We are there are very few transit agencies that have this sort of unlimited liability landscape. So it's important to us that our leaders sort of recognize where we are and are open to helping us make changes. You know, there are times when you know, our chief counsel Peter Andrews and Jonathan Hunt, I'll say, we paid $5 million? We settled for $5 million? And they would explain to me that, you know, the actual case, in one particular case, was worth $12 million. And our retention limit is $5 million. So we paid 5, and then the insurance company paid the balance. But it's the kind of thing where, you know, in this particular case, a woman was pushed to track level. Her daughter jumped down to help her, and her daughter suffered severe injuries when she was hit by a train. And the medical bills to date, and then the future medical bills and all of that. So you kind of see where those costs can add up very, very quickly. And that's one case, you know, and then there are other cases where someone may fall, break a finger. This is a true story. Break a finger and be awarded $1.7 million for a broken finger. It wasn't on MARTA property, but it's the landscape that we're working in some of our jurisdictions. So sometimes it's a calculated risk that our legal team makes in settling, as opposed to going to a jury trial, where of late these have been nuclear judgments, I believe, and we're encouraged by the governor's decision that he's going to take action and take aim at some of these high decisions. But that's the landscape we're in. Your comments land very well with us. We're going to continue to work with what we can do within our power to reduce those costs.
Great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
May I also mention, I believe a couple of our board members.
I'm sorry. We've got a question from Representative Montague, who's joining us on Zoom.
Sure.
Hey, well, good morning, Mr. Greenwood and committee. Unfortunately, I couldn't be with you this morning. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I did want to just make a few comments to you. First of all, thank you so much for the work you've done. I think back in 2022 or 2023, I had asked some pretty tough questions from MARTA about the direction and maybe the perception of MARTA being unclean, and having some folks in there that were knuckleheads, I think, like you said. And what I have seen so far from MARTA has been a earnest, a humble approach to take care of those issues. And I wanted to tell you, thank you for doing that. I see that this happening with your new trains, where you have these volume meters, where you are putting police on every train. And I understand that while right now there's physical limitations for them to be able to go up and down the entirety of the train, I recognize the fact that you're making the effort to make that happen. And so I wanted to thank you for that. I did want to add a few things before, Ms. Green, before you left, and that is, if over the next year or two, just to emphasize on a few things that we've seen, and that has been with the break-ins with some of the vehicles. So when you're looking at Bankhead and you're doing those expansions and renovations, looking at the ingress and egress for pedestrians that have access to those parking lots. And then furthermore, obviously we have FIFA coming, and that's something that I think Speaker John Burns, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, and Governor Kemp has been working very hard to bring events like that to our state. So we want to see y'all continue to do that. When I talk to people who use MARTA during big event days, folks that are, especially during the Labor Day weekend, where you have a lot of conventions in town, they're telling me it's the best it's ever been. So that's great news. That's what we like to hear. That's the anecdotal evidence that reps and senators are hearing when our constituents go downtown. And that's a total reverse course on what I have heard historically about MARTA and its services and in their interactions. So I did want to tell you that. That being said, is there a way, or is there a new standard with all this technology that we're putting in to kind of track bad? And this is something I want to lay with you. I'm not going to ask you the question particularly, but if there's a way to also track these bad actors, when we see someone who's being, just lewd or reckless or endangering others, is there a way to track these folks? And what kind of processes can we implement in the future to make sure maybe that they're not, that they're not going to be on these trains for either a finite or infinite amount of time? And but I can simply say that's only me just laying those concerns out. Obviously, this ridership is someone who can traditionally be disadvantaged, and we really want to take care of these folks. We really want to make sure they have clean, safe places. And again, I want to thank you, and understand there's no criticism here. I want to thank you for the steps that you've taken ever since to do those things to make it clean and to make it safe. And again, thank you so much. And to the chair lady, thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative. Your concerns are noted. We will get back to you on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. We also have a question from Representative Hilton.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Greenwood, for your excellent presentation, your leadership. I'm going to run through just 3 very quick questions, and then I want to address kind of an elephant in the room. And you're a diplomat, so I can't wait to hear your answers. Real quick, what is the average fare cost?
$2.50.
Perfect. Mobile payments, is that on its way? Is it coming?
Yes.
I was just in New York and I loved.
Breeze
Yeah.
Mobile 2.0 is here now, but with AFC 2.0, you'll be able to use your credit card, your watch, your phone, any NFC-enabled device, and that's before FIFA World Cup gets here.
The bus redesign, this kills me. The map, because I'll try to find it. We sort of stop at the borders of other transit authorities. You're redesigning your own system, and then you see it sort of end at the boundaries. Are you coordinating at the same time with other transit authorities?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. A lot of that outreach that I'm talking about and the inreach, we've spent several 8-hour technical sessions with our bordering transit agencies. So we're
Perfect.
working together.
Your reserve balances, you in your financial projections, you're not adding any money in the out years to the reserve balance. Do you have a pretty healthy reserve
We absolutely do.
right now? Yeah.
He doesn't want me to say what it is. But no, we're over $100 million in reserves. So
Well, to your CFO, as a former banker, I love the 5 times debt service coverage. I would loan you some money.
How about investing?
Yeah. To the elephant in the room, is there anyone with the City of Atlanta here in this room? All right.
No.
I'm just a layman, right? And so I try to research before this committee hearing and I think all of us in the room have been kind of tracking what all's been going on. From a layman's perspective, it appears that Atlanta has been essentially jerking your chain for the last 6 months, and in doing so, costing taxpayers thousands, if not millions of dollars, and lost opportunities. It kills me when I hear, A, the World Cup, we're going to miss that. And B, we're waiting on these permits to potentially try to get it done before the Super Bowl. And the City of Atlanta is watching this. Get the permits done. Get it done. So I need to end with an actual question. How would you characterize what's taken place over the last few months? Where do things stand now? And try to be as, yeah.
Thank you for the question. I will say when we're dealing with the amounts of money that we're dealing with, and it's not just the money, the various interests that, the City of Atlanta has to kind of listen to and cater to. I fully understand that there are going to be times, there are going to be inflection points where we have to talk things over. And, that adage, measure twice, cut once. It's more important to me to know that we have their support moving forward than to sort of, try to delve too deeply into whatever's happened in the past. I believe with my heart that, the administration is listening to a number of different interests, and that's why it takes time for them to, come on board. But I'll give them credit for listening intently to the MARTA team as we made our case for what needed to happen. And I believe them when they say that, they support us now. We're together on this, and they're going to do everything they can to get the permits done and support us through the process. So that's my answer.
You're a gentleman. You are a gentleman. The dispute between and here's where I kind of struggle too, that the city is using its own audit firm to audit y'all. It seems to be a conflict there. And I guess it's not a question. This is more of a statement. Y'all are performing your own audit. Do you have an anticipated deadline?
I'm going to interject on
Please,
that
please do.
because
Yeah.
that really is actually item 3 on the agenda.
Oh.
That's okay, but I'll just go ahead and cover this. But as you said, the city conducted an audit and with Malden and Jenkins, and they found that MARTA the more MARTA funds were not necessarily where they were supposed to be. But I will say that then this was back in August, and I raised some concerns about that, specifically about the lack of transparency around a few things, their findings, and how MARTA's responses to the report were not really considered and excluded from the final published report. MARTA had flagged some methodology that they had used with the More MARTA program, which retroactively applied to the COVID years. They used a special formula to bus charges rather from 17 through 19, and their approach did not mirror the actual data and financial practices from those years, which led, to some miscalculations. So that's why I've suggested from in August that KPMG go back and do another audit to just take a second look at this and use the methodology that was correct. And I understand that audit is ongoing and it has not been completed. But as soon as that's completed, I'm sure we'll have another meeting and come back to the table to look at this again.
Exactly right.
But I'm very grateful to the city for listening to MARTA and finally granting them the permits to correct the 5 Points station, because there are some significant maintenance issues in there that need to be addressed in addition to the aesthetics, that you saw in the presentation. It really is required maintenance for the safety of the passengers. So it is really important, and they will not be able to complete, my understanding, the 5 Point station by 26 now because of the delay on the permits. Which is a misfortune, but they will have them ready by 28 for the Super Bowl. So it's very unfortunate.
And last question, I promise. How different is project from what you originally proposed, I guess, in the spring to what was finally approved 6 to 9 months later?
It's the same project.
Thank you.
And I believe you have a question also from Representative Douglas.
I think I have comments and questions. Did want to interject on your numbers. Does that cover a span from COVID till present on the $30 million?
These were just the settlements for fiscal 24, but my understanding is the original claims went back quite extensively into COVID.
So it's
That's a good
over
question.
year.
It's
year.
over. It's over years.
Okay.
They just settled a lot of them this year because of the backup in the courts.
I think that's excellent compared. I'm a numbers guy. I'm not a banker, but I am a numbers guy too. I am a business owner. I just want to comment about sentiments of Representative Montahan. Very aesthetic about where MARTA is headed. I was privy to be at the groundbreaking for the new BRT over in Clayton County, which is going to employ about 1,200 people.
Yeah, 400 and 700 respectively in
Yeah,
terms of
400 people.
construction and ongoing work.
Yes, and that's in one of my counties. So
That's
I'm so
great.
excited about that.
That's
Job
great.
creation. But I am totally ecstatic about that and putting people to work. You guys have done a showman's job of redirecting MARTA, and I want to commend you after all you've heard from my colleagues, is that when you're dealing with the millions and millions of people, which we don't do on a daily basis, and trying to take us to the 21st century, I think you have done a yeoman's job on trying to get us in the 21st century. What you have to work with, the highs and lows, and you can't make all of these decisions. You have to wait on other entities to get your job done, and it delays you. So it makes you look kind of out of space for a minute, but we do understand. And I just want to say thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you so much.
Well, and I'll add to that I had the privilege of seeing Commissioner McMurray at the biennial. We were there this week in Athens, and he was commending MARTA and specifically Kelly Greenwood for coordinating with not only with all these entities and cities with bus routes and all this, but also with Georgia DOT. And I'm so excited about the rollout of BRT on the express lanes on the top end. That is going to be really something else. And you're going to see the percentage of people that have access to MARTA go up astronomically with that project. So I'm very excited.
Madam Chair, that's in your district also, right?
It is. Thank you very much. That's a check and a checkmate on that. For sure, sure. But thank you so much. And
Thank you very much, everyone. I
of course.
appreciate your comments, and it bolsters us in the work we do. So thank you.
So Jennifer LaRosa. Jennifer's going to talk to us about some proposed legislation for the upcoming session.
Yes, very briefly. And I did want to make a comment to Representative Monahan's concerns of safety around World Cup. We have been in contact with our federal offices early and often now. There is a World Cup delegation up there that is trying to help get host cities some financing for different things that mainly go around security and safety. And so we are having those conversations to make sure we're a part of that efforts to get those funds here in Georgia. So we do have a little bit of a request, as Mr. Greenwood mentioned earlier, on the Summer Hill route. This is the first one to come online in Georgia. So we do want it to be a reliable, fast service for these communities, as well as the community here at the Capitol. Your staff and you would be able to get to new places to eat and shop within 6 to 10 minutes. We'll also be able to get travelers off of the rail and onto the Beltline within minutes as well. And so we want to do what is best for this community. And another thing is these lanes would be available to EMS services. So anything happening downtown, we'd be able to respond quickly by using these lanes. And if you were able to join us earlier this year for Eggs and Issues to take the bus to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, escorted by police officers, and you could see how fast that access and that transit works. And basically on the similar alignment that we're doing the Summer Hill route. So we are very sensitive to how you feel about camera enforcement, and we want to do what is right for this community. And so we do not want to disproportionately affect the citizens in this area. So we do have a first-time forgiveness and graduated fines to match the distracted driving this body passed a few years ago. We also have a 6-month warning only period to go along with a very robust education campaign around this enforcement. And these fines will never result in an arrest. These funds are not meant to be a revenue source for us or our vendors. We actually have intention in the legislation to put them back into the community where they come from. These cameras will also be on the front of the buses in the lanes 24 hours. So any violation would be fairly accurate and also reviewable. And so we would like some time to prove that we are good actors. So perhaps a 5-year sunset would be in order to show some data and some good acting on all parties involved. That would give us a little bit of time to have the discussion before the 2 BRTs that are currently in CIG funding, Clayton County South Lake and Campbellton Road, before those come online. We are open to any help you might want to give to make this an accurate, efficient, and effective use of BRT, as previous methods of transit, such as rail, are not feasible in some of these areas. But we also want to remain good partners with this body. And so we want to do some enforcement in a way that you guys would be able to support.
Yeah, I think you have a question from Representative Hilton.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great presentation. The dedicated lanes, are we taking existing lanes open to everyone? Well, that'd be my only concern is we're making traffic. I mean, you debate where you're making traffic the same because more people take the bus, but are we taking away lanes, I guess is the question.
So the city and MARTA along together had planned this route and this project over the past years and made the decision together in some areas to take a lane. Yes.
Okay. So the lane's already taken away. This legislation is just to enforce
Correct.
keeping folks out of those lanes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And my understanding is a lot of these violations, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, are delivery vehicles.
It's a little bit. So we've talked to our counterparts across the nation that have put this into effect, and it's a little bit of everything. Sometimes, most of the times, it's visitors, and that is what it is. They'll never be back. So they might just get a forgiveness, take in the online course and call it a day. We do see some delivery vehicles. We've actually combed through the route to see what businesses might have business fronts on the actual lane and found spaces on perpendicular areas to create truck only areas so they can get some delivery. And the city of Atlanta worked with us on that and made an agreement to it. So everyone that would be affected business-wise on the lanes we ensured would have a place for their deliveries to be done.
Perfect. That's great. All right. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for that.
Thank you all.
And I appreciate you bringing that forward. And I would like to call on Gerald McDowell to come forward. He's got a presentation for us this morning around the Atlanta Airport Community Improvement District. And I know he has been working with MARTA, so thank you for joining us, Mr. McDowell.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to come and tell you about some exciting work that we have been working, that's been going on now for 7 years. I'm going to very briefly give you the context of those seven years, but this morning I have our partners from San Francisco to come and tell you about this upcoming project. Back in 2017, 2018, we did a transit feasibility study. And the short of that, the recommendations were to look at emerging mobility solutions, specifically autonomous shuttles, microtransit, and personal rapid transit. This morning, we want to share with you an upcoming demonstration project for personal rapid transit.
Wow.
Last fall, we did a RFP and we received a total of 7 proposals. 4 of those proposals came from companies outside of the US. We shortlisted those 7 to 3, and the 3 finalists were 2 companies that's been operating PRT since 2012, one in London, one in Amsterdam. And the third company, Glideways, is a company out of San Francisco. Glideways beat out both of those companies, primarily because Glideways has a solution that is a 21st century public transportation solution that we believe is going to transform public transportation. And we've been exploring this personal rapid transit technology now for over 7 years. And we are happy to be able to bring this demonstration project to Atlanta. And so at this time, if you will allow me to introduce our partners from Glideways to give you an overview of this demonstration project.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I may have to slip out.
Okay.
I have a board meeting at 12, and like Collie, I hope to get a nice pay increase and a bonus, but I probably need to be present.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Good morning, y'all. Thank you for your time today. Gotta say the leadership of this region is absolutely commendable and something our nation could learn from.
Great. And what is your name?
I'm sorry, my name is Elliot Temple. I lead commercial development for Glideways for North America.
Great.
Employee for the company, and it's been quite a journey seeing us create a solution that is practical,
Great.
financially sustainable, but also environmentally conscious as well.
And who is this pretty young lady with you?
Maria Ray.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Ray. I'm Senior Vice President, Head of Government Affairs at Glideways. It's nice to
Great.
be with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Going to try to be quick here because of time, but go next one. But the problem's clear. And I think Atlanta knows that best from decades of, did everyone's stomach drop? From decades of intentional and unintentional division by design, really just strickens our communities and economic development growth as we continue to see future growth of population in Atlanta. Glideways is a very complementary solution to all the existing rail and bus systems with a new technology. And so a disaggregated piece apart solution that only operates on a fixed guideway system, similar to a train, similar to BRT, but fully protected always. We are an automated system. We're completely bidirectional and fully electric as well. We have an enormous emphasis and fundamental, I would call, alignment to the mindset of MARTA and others of making it all about the rider. And so a lot of that is safety. A lot of that is the consistency of experience, the on-demand nature, et cetera. Glideways is a scalable solution. So you can have Glideways, as you will see in the pilot, operating in 2026 at low capacity. And you can also see Glideways at 1 second headways, which equates to a 10,000 person per hour capacity as well. So bridging the gap of 1 to 10 miles where we need to in a region that needs it most.
And 10,000 per hour, what?
What's that?
What is 10,000 per hour riders?
10,000 people per hour.
Wow, that's okay.
Ridership. Yeah, so very comparable to existing transit, but at a fraction of the cost, both to build, but also to operate. Those operational expenditures are highly predictable, highly controllable, and work with current fares to attract private public investment, which incentivizes more build. Well, more build is more access. More access is more opportunity and jobs. So it really seems to be a win-win for everybody. I'm going to pass it on to Mari. I guess this video doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Before I take over, I just want to share just a visual of what our system is. Imagine you are able to ride an on-demand transportation system, which you hail on a smartphone or a physical kiosk, similar to an Uber ride hail. That vehicle is waiting for you, or it comes very quickly. It's a ride that you can take shared, or you can take it personal. And it's a ride that takes you direct to destination. That's the Glideway system. So unlike complementary modes of public transit, which are taking you on a fixed route, but within an inline system, we allow for offline access, offline boarding, ingress and egress. And so you're able to have a very fluid, efficient system with vehicles moving in the trunk lane and moving offline, kind of like a freeway exit, to offload passengers. And so that's how our system is experienced by the average rider. And our fares are comparable to public transit fares. We have 3 projects under contract. 2 are in California, and the one that will come online first is here in College Park in Georgia. We're more than just a vehicle. We are an operating system. So we work with, as many technology companies do, to not only build the transportation technology, the vehicle with a full camera, LiDAR sensor stack. We also have a dispatch system, which is the operations control that dispatches our vehicles. They're fully automated and bidirectional, as Elliot mentioned. We are also safety certified. We'll be self-certifying our system here in Georgia, full safety certification. We'll have a ticketing and ride request, which I mentioned, and our communication software will be not only between the vehicles, but between the vehicles and the infrastructure. We're a company with great investor support, including some of the noteworthy investors you see here, as well as global investors. And onto our most exciting part, which is the demonstration pilot here in Georgia. Our objectives are clear. This really is a proof of concept, the ability to demonstrate a public operation of our system that will test the viability and future expansion potential to inform a feasibility study by MARTA, but also just inform the community as to the system. We'll demonstrate the user experience over a 2-year period and gather feedback. And we'll be educating stakeholders and regulators on this new transit solution. This is really first of its kind, and it's happening here in Georgia for the first time. We're operating in a consortium. So we are Glideways, the transportation technology company, but we are operating in a really robust consortium of partners. That includes ACS Infrastructure, one of the world's leading project development firms, Flatiron, a subsidiary of ACS Infra, which is a construction firm, as well as civil design engineer firms and local partners around software engineering and geotechnical. You may be wondering where this is going. So this is going in a short alignment, about a half a mile, that will connect the SkyTrain at the Georgia International Convention Center to the nearby arena that was built at the Georgia International Convention Center. So it's a short loop. Really, again, this is a demonstration pilot. We feel like this is a really great sort of central alignment that will connect to future systems if they are deemed viable and feasible. And you can see the alignment here, as well as an aerial view in this next picture. So there's the International Convention Center. And you can see, if you can see, I don't know if I have a pointer here, but if you can see, the glideway system will have 3 access points along the International Convention Center. There's certainly a possibility for future expansion. That's something that's being studied as part of our operating pilot. And that includes 13 to 20 miles of future system that would connect not only terminals within the airport, but neighboring company headquarters, as well as employee parking for Delta. These are all opportunities that are envisioned. This is not part of the original 5.5 mile pilot, but these are being considered. And just to answer a few questions about the operations, this will be a fleet of up to 5 vehicles. It'll operate about 4 days a week, up to 8 hours per day. We see about 400 riders riding the system per day, but the capacity of the system is to actually have about 400 riders per hour. And it'll be about a 2.5 minute total ride time, including wait time. But it'll be the full operating system, which we're excited about. The timeline for this is we are currently in the design phase. We'll be starting construction in the middle of next year. It'll be 12 months of construction and in operations in the mid to late 2026. We've been doing a great deal of stakeholder engagement. That includes folks coming out from Georgia to our development facility in California, doing a lot of really great study, including viewing our operations control center, our test track, sitting in the glide car, experiencing for themselves. We've also been doing a great deal of partnership with ACIDS in engaging the community, including involvement in their community events. And to close, I have a short video, which I hope will play if I have time. I hope this works. Okay, I think I may need to go. I don't think it's gonna work. I can share a video with you for a later time.
I do want to highlight, so of all the engagements we have in North America, although 3 have been committed to, there's several others that we're expecting through this year as well. But want to be clear that Atlanta, and specifically this pilot, will be our first commercial system. And y'all should be proud of that, and we are certainly proud of that.
Exciting. Well, thank you so much for bringing that. I'm excited to hear about it and hope you get some great results.
Thank you.
And we have a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Representative Hilton.
Full of questions today. This is less of a question and more for a plug for my district. City of Peachtree Corners, City of Peachtree Corners Curiosity Lab. We have a autonomous vehicle test track already built. And so I'd encourage you to, happy to get you connected to the folks up there. We've got vehicles running up and down that track all the time. And so could be an opportunity for you guys. So City of Peachtree Corners, check it out.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Nope. If not, then we are adjourned. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Can I be the agent on that? What's that? Can I be the conduit? Guys need a conduit. Call me, George.